Sports.
We are Buffalo. We are Florida.
Welcome to South Florida. Not a lot of cookouts in South Florida today. Not at all. Tropical storm rolling through. Rain all over the place. But we've got baseball. Roof closed. Windows closed. The Phillies and the Marlins kick-starting a 3-game series. And look who's back. Just in time. No, it's Justin Bour. But just in time. He was off the DL yesterday dealing with an oblique. He's here greeting some of his former teammates before the game. Not in the lineup today, but perhaps we'll be able to see him at some point throughout the series. So, yes, the Phillies are in town for 3. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth with you here inside the broadcast booth. We've said it a lot the last few weeks, but here we are on Labor Day. This is the last real quarter pole of the season to evaluate, so the race is heating up. Marlins a chance to affect one.
Well, and there's no doubt about it. And you want to see your players go up against a team that's in it. That's where you find the value. I mean, I don't think any of us would deny what we felt yesterday here at Marlins Park. It was a bad loss against the Blue Jays, but the Blue Jays were out of it, and the game kind of felt blah. Today, you get a little bit more excited. Yeah, you got a day game on a Monday, and it's Labor Day, but the Phillies are in this thing, and you have a chance to affect the race. So you hope that the Marlins come out today and play one of their better games.
Well, it all starts with their starting pitcher, so let's focus in on Jose Urena. He gets the ball today. Last time we saw him was in Boston, but he's back on the mound at home. This season against the Phillies, the first one was good. The last 2, 5 and 6 earned runs.
And usually the story kind of writes itself. We know what you're going to, I mean, we all know what Urena's going to bring to the table. The script doesn't change a whole lot. You're going to see that big fastball, the big arm, 95 to 97. The question is, can he make enough good pitches on the corners to get through this Phillies lineup and get that quality start that he's searching for?
And you saw those 4 home runs allowed. 3 of them came in one game. That was a season worst.
Well, and that's kind of the point. When he misses, and sometimes it's out over the plate, the Philadelphia Phillies, they do one thing on offense really well. Hit home runs. They do it top to bottom in this lineup. Listen, they've been struggling a bit offensively here in the second half. They're not getting on base nearly as much. They're not hitting for high average, but one thing they are doing, they're hitting home runs. Keep the ball in the yard today. You got a chance to beat them.
And you got to figure out a way to beat Vince Velasquez. This guy, when he's on, can have no-hit type stuff. 3 times he's gone into the 5th inning with no hits.
Yeah, I'll tell you, this has got to be one of the more marquee matchups even around Major League Baseball today, at least when it comes to four-seam fastballs. Velasquez has got one of the best in the game. On his fastball, he's already racked up 100 strikeouts of the 142 he's got on the season. So between Urena and Velasquez, my goodness, sit back. We've got some velocity for you.
That is absolutely right. And we've got a little bit of a reunion, too. Justin Bour, again, back in town. Familiar face. Nicely done. Alliteration with the PH. I like it. Craig Minervini's going to talk with JB when we come back. Marlins getting set to open up this 3-game series, but first out to center field, Craig Anelli.
Thank you very much, Paul, and we will see a very familiar face here when we catch up with number 33 now, Justin Bour of the Philadelphia Phillies. Marlins traded him not too long ago. He's landed here in Philly. He also was on the disabled list for 10 days with a left oblique strain, but just got off actually for the game today. He's not in the lineup. As for Bour, what about going over to Philadelphia for number 33?
Well, I think it's exciting for him because he's in a pennant race for the first time in his career. So you go over there and you try to do the best you can. You know, with 250 average, only 9 games because of the injury, the oblique injury, just came off the DL. It's going to be interesting to see him here when he gets his first at-bat against his old team. When you face your old team, you always want to put, you don't put too much pressure on yourself, but you always want to come through and say, hey, this is what you let go or this is what you're missing. Another thing, he's another scout. You know, he just came over from Miami. Right. You're expected to beat the Marlins all 3 games. So, hey, you might have to change the signs if you're the Marlins because Bour knows them all. Okay, do they have the same steal, the same bunt, the same hit and run? What are they going through? Obviously, you're giving Gabe Kapler, the manager of the Phillies, all that kind of information. And again, you're excited of facing your old team. I'm sure he'll get a pinch hit tonight at some point.
All right, hopefully we see him in the series. Hit 45 home runs here in Marlins Park, and he said changing teams is not something that he asked for.
I mean, I never really asked to go. I wanted to be part of that turnaround and wanted to be part of, Miami. But obviously it's a business, and you understand it. So for me, obviously, I still keep in touch with most of the guys and check the box scores and see how everyone's doing. So I know they're grinding and they're playing hard every day.
And Bour did tell me he appreciated everything he had here in Miami. He was a minor league Rule 5 guy and really found himself in the major leagues because of the Marlins, and he has nothing but great memories of Miami, and they'll try to make a few more here. Marlins will try to keep him quiet, at least when they play against him here in September. Baseball coming up Labor Day. Enjoy your holiday. Raindrops outside, but great weather here at Marlins Park for baseball next.
Is brought to you by WB Mason. Who but WB Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. By Chevrolet, see your South Florida dealer today. By South Florida Ford, and by your South Florida Toyota dealers. Rain just about everywhere in South Florida except inside Marlins Park, where we are happy to bring you the first of this 3-game set. An early start, an afternoon tilt for Labor Day as the first pitch is fouled back behind the dugout. Roman Quinn to lead things off for the Philadelphia Phillies. Little bit of a different look than what we're used to. Manager Gabe Kapler has been jumbling things around a little bit, but some guys swinging hot bats. And the addition of Wilson Ramos in recent weeks, as well as Roman Quinn, who has been one of those hot bats, flies out to deep right center field for the first out of the ball game. Jose Urena on the bump here this afternoon.
Now making his team leading 27th start of the season, 4-12 record, 4.56 ERA. Does have a complete game, a couple of starts ago. Quality starts in 9 of 26. Marlins Park, he's looking for his second win, although the ERA is certainly a little bit better, 4.45, and that deep fly ball certainly kind of brings to point, and the Phillies as well. We showed you in the open, 10 of the 16 home runs he's allowed this year have actually been here at Marlins Park, so he needs to be a little bit careful with this Phillies team.
That one in there at 96 to Carlos Santana, who comes in with 20 home runs, 77 RBIs, but 92 walks this year for the Phillies. 92 walks, most by a Phillies switch hitter in a season since Pete Rose in 1979 when he had 95. So we still got like 4 weeks to go, 3-4 weeks to go.
Well, Santana swinging a much hotter bat than most of these matchups between the Phillies and the Marlins this season, although he hates Marlins Park. 2 for 31. 0.65 batting average.
Hasn't fared all that well against the Marlins this year either. Just 9 for 48, which is under 200. A couple of home runs, 5 RBIs. And he swings and misses for the second out here.
Tell you what, that's pretty good sequencing from Urena for out number 2. Let's get you the Marlins defensively. One of the better teams in all of baseball. 4th fewest errors in the National League, only 70 on the season. Dean gets the start in left. Brinson once again in center. Ortega over in right. Anderson, Rojas, Castro, Dietrich round out the infield along with JT behind the plate.
Now I don't want to give it away, but when we do the Phillies defense, I don't think you'll be starting it the same way.
No, I may be starting it the same way, but there's different numbers that you're going to hear about. There's been a big issue with the Philadelphia Phillies and their defense this season, but not the Marlins. They've played very good defense, 986 as their fielding percentage, 4th also in the National League.
Nothing in 2-2 Odubel Herrera, who was out in left field today. 21 homers and 65 RBIs for Herrera. And a swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts for Urena in a 1-2-3 first inning. The Marlins will come to the plate. Face Vince Velasquez when we come back. First inning for Jose Urena, back-to-back strikeouts. And now the Marlins go to the bat rack with Rafael Ortega in the top spot again today. We've seen JT Riddle there the last 2 days. Riddle gets the day off. Here is the rest of the Marlins starting lineup. Brian Anderson coming off arguably his roughest day at the plate in the major leagues. 4 strikeouts yesterday for the first time. JT Realmuto hits third, and Starlin Castro hits fourth. Derek Dietrich back in there over at first. Brinson, Dean, and Urena bottom third of the order against Vince Velasquez. His first pitch of the afternoon is in there for a called strike. Mentioned earlier, we've mentioned it throughout the times that we have seen him this year, that he can certainly bring it, and when he is locked in, he is one of the nastier pitchers in baseball. That one a liner to Cesar Hernandez. A hard first out for Ortega.
All right, let's get you the Auto Nation scouting report of Vince Velasquez before we get too far into this. It's a quick first innings, by the way. Much improved. Well, Velasquez absolutely has done that this year. Career high 11 quality starts in 2018. So far, he's improved just about every meaningful category. BABIP, OPS, Ks per 9, walks per 9. Keep an eye on that. Now, less is more. Here's the interesting thing. He's not gone past 5 innings or 84 pitches in his last 4 starts. He's actually averaged less than 5 innings a start in the second half.
Well, the umpires got together. Don Mattingly came out, just wanted a clarification as to whether or not Hernandez caught that ball in the air. Umpires got together and ruled that he was out. One more look. I think they got it right.
Yeah, even conveniently turns the glove over, more toward the inside of that thumb.
So 1 out for Brian Anderson.
And keep an eye on this today as part of the Auto Nation scouting report. Last one, beat the heat. I mean, listen, we know Velasquez. We told you all about this coming in. Urena and Velasquez, this is a matchup of huge arms. Both these guys got big fastballs. The 4-seamer and the sinker combination 65% of the time with Velasquez. 205 batting average against that 4-seamer.
Anderson fouls it straight back, 94 miles an hour, maybe above the top of the strike zone, but 0-2 nonetheless to Anderson, who over the course of his last 11 games is 10 for 35 with 10 runs scored and 7 walks. But yesterday was the first 4 strikeout game of his career. Just kind of looked caught in between all afternoon against Sean Reed Foley and the other arms of the Toronto Blue Jays, and he is down looking for out number 2 here in the first.
All right, let's get you the Phillies defensively for this afternoon's game. 105 errors on the season gets you the top spot, not in a good way, in Major League Baseball. 979 fielding percentage, worst in Major League Baseball. Herrera gets the start in left, Quinn in center, making his 10th start. Williams over in right. Cabrera, Kingery, Hernandez, and Santana round out the infield, with Ramos behind the plate.
Swung on and missed by JT Realmuto. 18 homers, 68 RBIs for JT. And this one lined softly into left, and it's going to fall in front of Herrera for a 2-out base hit.
Give you another look. JT certainly has been on his game. Most of his hits have been of the line drive variety here over the last week. No different to start this afternoon's ball game here with 2 outs in the first.
So Starlin Castro digs in. One for 4 yesterday, 4 for 8 with a double and an RBI on the homestand. Castro was asking for time, didn't get it, but a ball outside nonetheless, and it's 1-0.
That's a win-win for Starlin Castro. He's got Good career numbers against the Philadelphia Phillies. 50 career games. .330 batting average. 5 homers, 26 RBIs.
Balls and no strikes to Castro, who enters the day with 150 hits, 10th in the National League. He's also second among second basemen in the NL with those 150 hits, but the guy that he's looking up to, Scooter Gennett, is leading all the National League in hitting nowadays.
Velasquez, 2 starts versus the Marlins here in 2018. 2-0, .73 ERA. He's had dominant stuff.
Well, with JT's 2-out single, we can put this out here without worrying about jinxing anything. But 3 times this season, a no-hitter through at least 5 innings. That one up and in to Castro, rolls toward the on-deck circle, and up to second goes Real Muto.
Now let's give you another look. This fastball, running action, my goodness, up and out of the strike zone. Just tips top of Ramos's glove.
So a runner in scoring position in a hitter's count. 3 balls and a strike to Starlin Castro. Left field line, but that one will fall foul.
I think Starlin might have broken his bat. That big knuckle curveball that Velasquez likes to throw. He's thrown it a number of times to the top of the Marlins lineup. Arsenal 4-seam fastball, does throw a sinker as well. Slider, that knuckle curve, and a change, doesn't throw that too often. One thing that really stands out with Velasquez is, less is more. So surprising, as dominant as he's been, at least numeric, talking statistics here, the numbers. Got a career .266 ERA his last 8 starts versus the National League. He's been on a pretty good run. He just hasn't been going deep into ball games.
Just the 1 run in 12 1/3 against the Marlins this year. Chance to add 1 here. 3 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. And Velasquez delivers to Castro, sends it out to right field, and it's Nick Williams to make the play. So Velasquez works around the 2-out single, scoreless through 1.
and Serve, presented by Ticked, on Monday, September 17th, as we invite those who serve to join us for a ball game. Active and retired U.S. military personnel, veterans, firemen, and police officers receive 2 complimentary tickets when showing their official service IDs at the center field entrance of Marlins Park. For more information, visit marlins.com/offers.
A Labor Day Monday here inside Marlins Park. Scoreless as we go to the top of the second inning. Wilson Ramos, Nick Williams, and Asdrubal Cabrera against Jose Urena. Threw 9 pitches in the first inning, 8 for strikes. And now 10 pitches, 9 strikes as Ramos fouls that one off. A couple of strikeouts in that first inning, too.
Yeah, good to see. Urena doesn't typically come out featuring the slider as much as we saw it in that first inning, but an effective slider. Strikeouts, good to see. And no surprise, Ramos swinging at that first pitch. .419 batting average this season on the first pitch. Kind of had bad memories of Tampa.
Yeah, he is aggressive and successful on that
well,
first pitch.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, we found out rather early in the count. It was a couple of different times. Like we were about ready to say, hey, he's really good on the first whack. It was like a double off the wall.
I mean, he's a catcher. He's working back there. You want to spend all day at the plate, I suppose. Ball and 2 strikes now to Ramos. A deadline acquisition for the Phillies, who started his Phillies career a week or so later. He was acquired while he was still on the disabled list. Waved at and missed, and 3 consecutive strikeouts. One away here in the second.
Well, at the center of this conversation is the slider. Once again, Ramos, my goodness. And everybody's thinking, all right, I got to be ready for the velocity today. And both these guys have come out throwing a lot of sliders. Another one, Ramos completely fooled by it. That swing right there is hoping for a foul ball at most.
So it'll bring up Nick Williams. Takes ball 1. 17 homers, 50 RBIs for Williams. He's found a home in the everyday lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies. 68 games since the middle of June, hitting .292, 10 homers, 33 RBIs.
Well, and I think in the Nick Williams story, we saw him early going all the way back to the beginning of the season. He's earned it. He's gotten out there and he's performed. 813 OPS since the All-Star break. He's handled his own against the righties. 15 of his 17 home runs. I know I was personally surprised after seeing a strong 80-game run from Williams last year that he wasn't playing more early on.
He may have had a very similar thought as you, but again, when the first-year manager Gabe Kapler, lots of mixing and matching, lots of looking at numbers. That goes for matchups, that goes for lineups, that goes for defensive alignments, that goes for a lot of different things. At the ankles of Williams to load up the count. Well, for the most part, the Phillies have turned things around compared to last season. September 3rd, 2017, they were 51-84. They are 72-64 on September 3rd, 1 year later. Williams grounds out, 4 out, number 2. However, that doesn't mean that the team is not coming in having struggled as of late. Lost 4 of 6 on the homestand, 16 of 25 overall, and in fact have not won a series since they swept the Marlins in a 4-game set about a month or so ago. Asdrubal Cabrera offers at the first one, fouls it away, 0-1.
A couple of things have plagued them. Number one, at least in my opinion, the offense. Just haven't been scoring nearly enough runs. 171 runs here in the second half. That's just over 4 runs a game. Now, with the pitching, you'd think maybe that would be enough, but it has been a bit of an issue. The defense certainly doesn't help things out. We mentioned it early on, 105 errors as tops in Major League Baseball.
And Cabrera, deep right field, puts the Phillies on the board. A solo home run for Asdrubal Cabrera, his 22nd on the season, his 6th against the Marlins this year, and it's 1-0.
Well, as good as the slider has been for Urena to start this ball game, this one does not fall into the category of quality. It stays up and out and spins, and he recognizes it and unloads. My goodness. That was a no-doubter off the bat. See Urena. Well, that little spinny move was very similar to the slider, spinning.
Scott Kingery takes a called strike.
Give you one more look. Cabrera, this is the 4th home run he's hit at Marlins Park this season.
Came over from the Mets in late July. Got himself right into a pennant race. They've been bouncing around the infield a little bit. Some second, some short, some third. He's over at third this afternoon.
Well, they are certainly happy with Kingery's defense. It's gotten an awful lot better at shortstop. I guess a little bit less playing time. Most of that based on the offensive or lack of offensive production from Kingery. They are happy with his defense.
This one toward the left center field gap, and moving over to make the catch is Austin Dean. A solo home run for Asdrubal Cabrera has the Phillies up 1-0. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. a very rainy day. Tropical storm rolling through. Glad your cable or satellite dish works today so you can hang out with us while you're marooned in the house, hopefully safe and sound. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth, Craig Minervini with you here at Marlins Park. Derek Dietrich, Miguel Rojas, and Lewis Brinson against Vince Velasquez here in inning number 2. Hot shot down the right field line and into the corner. The extra bases for Dietrich on his way to second, still rolling, heading to third. Here comes the throw, not in time. In fact, it bounces off of Dietrich, who is into third with a leadoff triple.
Well, Double D has been biding his time, kind of waiting for those consistent at-bats to come back around. The rosters have expanded. He has not been getting every start, but certainly making the most of his playing time. Multi-hit game in the Toronto series. Start here in game 1 against the Phillies. First pitch he sees, rips it into the corner. Triple number 3 on the season for Dietrich.
Shoulder and then the unprotected ear is right.
Yeah, no kidding, right there. It was Cabrera catching the ball behind his head.
Evidently.
I'm trying to figure out what Cabrera was trying to do there as far as anticipating the bounce.
Get the good hop.
Well, he had the glove on the other side. I'm like, was the ball going to go through him?
Like a video game glitch.
Maybe.
Maybe that's what it was. All right, so Dietrich 90 feet away from tying this ball game in 0-1. He's on the way to Miguel Rojas. Chops one to third. And Cabrera looks Dietrich back. 1 out. We check in with Craig Minervini.
Thank you very much, Paul. Lewis Brinson, good stuff. He's had 3 hits the last 2 games, but Don Mattingly said there is more to it. The eye very analytical, and so are the other numbers. One of the hits to third, he had a ground ball, he had a hard hit. What Mattingly was talking about with us today is the sustainability. You're looking at numbers like ball coming off the bat, all the stats we talk about, the exit velocity, the contact rate. That's the thing he says is sustainable going into the future, and that's what we're really looking for from him, the progress over the next month. Yeah, you want to get your hits, and you'll take your bloops, and those kind of hits, absolutely, that's part of the game. But the sustainable part, good contact, because if you hit it hard, you're going to find some holes, and that's what he's looking for from Lewis Brinson.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Craig. There's no doubt about it. But again, I would play off. But remember, he's only been back for a couple of games, and I would just take that next step and say, you know what? You got to believe that confidence is coming. That's what you want to see. You get 3 hits, you should be feeling pretty good about yourself. Did hit 1 double hard, and you hope that the confidence leads to more line drives, hard contact, and better results.
Well, a fly ball here could tie the game. Phillies again have the infield in. That's what Don Mattingly's been talking about and has been talking about with Lewis Brinson throughout the season. The quality of the at-bats, not always the results.
Well, and there have been pockets of good and certainly some pockets of bad early on. You go back and look at April and May, and there's a lot of learning going on. We'll leave it at that. But the point is that right before he got hurt, boy, he got on a pretty good run. Nice month of June. He was slugging well. If I remember correctly, it was 4 doubles, 4 triples, 4 homers. It felt like the month of June. So a lot of good results. He's going to have to pick up and show that here in the month of September if he wants to put all, well, I'll say it this way, all competitors down. And you got to look at this. There's a couple spots on this team I feel like there's some answers for next year, but again, I think there's a few open spots, if you know what I mean. And the point being that Brinson hasn't cemented center field and said, that's mine. I'm starting 155 games in center field next year. He needs to have a strong September and kind of put the competition in its place.
Velasquez 1-2 pitch. This is low and a little outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. A Dietrich leadoff triple. As he leads away from third. Got to do something with it. 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position yesterday against the Blue Jays. Not a lot of opportunities yesterday, but a golden one here, and Brinson comes through. A line drive base hit up the middle. Using the middle of the field with 2 strikes, ties the game.
Now that's what you want to see right there. That's the quality at bat that the Marlins are looking for. Laid off a couple of tough pitches, got a pitch he could handle, and drove it right back through the box. That is what you're talking about. With these types of results coming through in some of the more obvious situations, the percentages favor you, the infield's in, the kind of contact that you need. Certainly pretty obvious, and he comes up with it.
Now Austin Dean. And yesterday off. Hitless in the first 2 games of the series against the Blue Jays. Well, it's hits like that, it's at-bats like that, results like that, that you use as building blocks, like we saw with Sierra in Boston against Craig Kimbrell. You know, the numbers would tell you that he's overmatched. There's no chance he can come through. He comes through. It's those little moments that you can build on and then call upon as the season, as your career goes on. Sierra, part of that outfield rotation that we have seen in the first couple of days of September with rosters expanding. We've seen him play a lot of center field in the absence of Lewis Brinson, but he's been over in right the last couple of days. The 0-1 to Dean, left center field, and that one is going to get down. Cut off before it gets to the wall. Brinson being held at third on the double by Austin Dean.
A nice job by Dean. He goes down out of the strike zone and drives this ball, maybe just off the edge. You don't see too many changeups from Velasquez. Only 5%. Well, this one turned around. Ripped into left center field. Cabrera just able to cut it off. Playing left, but Quinn in center.
Now Urena with a chance to help himself. Swings and misses at 93 miles an hour. Again, the Phillies bring the infield in. Urena just 2 for 39 this season. Pulls back bunt, 1-1. I think that was just for show, or was that to maybe catch the
No,
Phillies?
I think that he would quite deliberately put a ball down and force the Phillies to make a play, maybe even Brinson to come up with a pretty good read. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you got the infield pulled in, but you're playing against the percentages that he's actually going to put the ball in play. We've seen only 2 hits off the bat of Urena this year, and the idea that, you know, he's going to come up with a fly ball right here against Velasquez, if I were a betting man, I'd lean towards the bunt.
Comes the 1-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. Blew him away with 95. So 2 on and 2 out here in the second inning.
Hey, Marlins fans, now you can stream games live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by Coors Light. Download the app and take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball wherever you go.
Back to the top of the lineup for Rafael Ortega with Brinson over at third. He had the RBI single. Dean moved him over to third with his double. Ortega lined out sharply to second base in his first at bat. And serves one into left field, just kind of left side of the infield, and now 2 runs are going to score. Up to second goes Ortega. Nice job. Too ribby. Knocked the other way.
Well, he beat me to the punch. .417 batting average. Again, we're talking small sample size here, but Ortega's done a fantastic job in that situation. You know, one thing we know about Ortega's approach to hitting, line to line, and he's very disciplined. Short, compact swing. You see it there. You see how the hands just past the point of contact kind of rise through, almost an abbreviated swing. Beautiful piece of hitting. Nice job moving up with the high throw into home, able to get himself into scoring position. Big inning here for the Marlins.
Pitching coach Rick Kranitz out to talk with Vince Velasquez, who had been so good against the Marlins this year. 13 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 earned run in 12 1/3 innings, but today 3 runs, 5 hits, 5 outs into the afternoon.
Well, I suppose worth mentioning, I try not to go here on certain stats. You know how I love numbers.
Yes.
5.28 ERA in the daytime. Just saying, I was only going to go there if it happened. Marlins have been able to erupt here in the bottom of the second, so I might as well bring it out.
Your whole story is full, isn't it? Always full, always ready to roll. Now, let's see if Anderson can get back on track.
Well, I got another doozy for you, but we'll wait till the end of the day. See how this goes.
Does it have to do with the day of the week?
It does.
A strikeout looking in the first inning for Anderson. Lifts one, right side. Back is Santana, but it will be Williams, the long run in to make the play. But the Marlins score 3 runs in the bottom of the second inning against Velasquez.
Bottom of the lineup.
Run, a 3-run inning leads to a 3-1 lead for Jose Urena. Speaking of the worst run support in the National League with at least 20 starts, Jose Urena. That's the Florida Lottery in-game jackpot. A little bit less than the average right now with the 3-run inning.
Well, and part of the problem is that even here at Marlins Park, it's even worse. We showed you the numbers on the whole. How about a 195 runs per game average at home?
And Velasquez slashing one down the right field line, foul.
It's a 3-run lead, or I should say 2-run lead. 3 runs should feel like 10 here at Marlins Park.
Well, we've talked about it a lot this year, those shutdown innings. Certainly use one right here, and a first out as he retires the pitcher Velasquez. One away here in the third. So you almost get like a little bit of a day off in between these games, with the afternoon game today, the night game tomorrow, the middle game of this 3-game series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Jake Arrieta and Trevor Richards. Marlins live pregame show on the air at 6:30. First pitch a little after 7. Cesar Hernandez takes outside. We've seen Hernandez a lot in the top spot in the order for the Phillies this year, but now number 9 today, kind of acting as that second leadoff man. But he will not reach base here. 2 quick outs in the third for Urena. Back to the top of the order for Roman Quinn. Quinn takes a strike. A fly out to right field in his first at bat, but multiple hits in 5 of his last 8 starts. And an extra base hit in 5 of his last 6. Guy that has been in the Phillies organization for a few years. They've liked him. It's really just been an injury issue for him and staying on the field. But certainly in the last few weeks, this is what they have envisioned from the youngster. Maybe not that specifically, but this is what you envision for Urena. 8-pitch innings right after the 3-run bottom of the second. Third inning, a 3-run bottom of the second. Marlins heading back to the bat rack. JT Realmuto, Starlin Castro, and Derek Dietrich due up on a Labor Day Monday here at Marlins Park. It's Velasquez on the hill for the Phillies this afternoon. Realmuto swings at the first pitch. Skies one to Santana right around the first base bag. 1 away.
Locking the all-new Miami Marlins membership. It all starts here for the 2019 season with new rewards and experiences. Plus, get access to exclusive off-season member events, one-of-a-kind memorabilia, and a chance to swing for your seats at Marlins Park. Go by September 14th to secure bonus savings and incentives. MarlinsEnrollment.com.
A pretty cool event here at the ballpark yesterday, and I bring that up because perhaps some of those people back home after checking out the yard yesterday. Thanks for everybody who stopped in yesterday. Had breakfast at the ballpark. Good to meet you all yesterday before the game. Starlin Castro, fly ball his first time up. Awaits the 1-0 pitch and takes a called strike. Castro fouls off 96 from Velasquez. He's allowed 5 hits already today, but 4 hits or fewer in 15 of his starts this season. Since 1908, the only other Philly starter to allow 4 hits or fewer in 15 starts. Aaron Nola this year, and Grover Cleveland Alexander in 1915, Ken Howell in 1989. Now Nola pitched yesterday. And now we kind of go start by start and evaluate that Cy Young candidacy for Aaron Nola and his closest competition. I'm sure many would agree. Max Scherzer. He goes today and is currently trailing the St. Louis Cardinals 2-1. And Jacob deGrom goes later tonight against the Los Angeles Dodgers in LA as Castro chops one to Kingery, who makes the play on the backhand, 2 away.
Yeah, I think Nolik has a clear-cut advantage, at least in this conversation for me, just based on the fact that every start he makes, he gets a few extra bonus points, probably with the court of public opinion and voters as the Philadelphia Phillies are trying to get to the postseason. Now, it can also work against them, much like I felt like it did yesterday. Big start against the Cubs. They needed for him to be big time as the offense was struggling in that 3-game series, and Nola did strike out a few yesterday, but at the end of the day, turned into a Phillies loss.
Which there have been a lot of recently for Gabe Kapler and his bunch. They lost 4 of 6 on that homestand. Now for Scherzer, 5 strikeouts in his first 2 innings today, including number 250 this season. What do you think? 3, 4 starts? Does he have a chance at 300? I'm trying to do the math.
Yeah, he'd have to get on some sort of crazy roll, and I'm not sure more is going to happen for him this month or this year in the month of September. Can't imagine the Washington Nationals being too thrilled with, yeah, let's go for it.
You throw 9 innings every night, and you'll get to 300 strikeouts.
Well, for Nola, 19-9 the Phillies are in his starts this season. When Nola doesn't start, the Phillies are 53-55. That says an awful lot about Nola. Another quality at bat by Dietrich, on for the 2nd time today. Got everything started last inning with a triple into the right field corner. 2-out walk here in the 3rd.
So in steps Miguel Rojas, who grounded out to Cabrera at 3rd in his first at-bat back in the 2nd inning. Rojas gets the start at shortstop today. You certainly love the versatility that Rojas presents for this club, being able to play in different spots. Just in the last week and a half, he's played, started at what, 4 different infield positions. The 0-1 now is upstairs. Still a month left or so on what has been a career year for Miguel Rojas. The 10 home runs, the 48 RBIs. Some more consistent playing time throughout the summer for Miggy. Get out of the way of that one. That did not break. It's not often that you can multiply your career best home run total by 10 in a single season, but that's what he's done.
Well,
it's fun with numbers. Just go with it.
okay.
That's all. Come on. Jeez. I already brought up Grover Cleveland Alexander this half inning. You don't have to go into the record books for it. Just a courtesy chuckle is all I'm looking for.
I was going to expand on where his power was too on the field.
Okay,
where I was kind of going with that, because it kind of goes against what we've known Rojas to be, as far as a guy who really worked so hard last year at staying up the middle the other way, and what we've seen a lot of him this year is that pull power.
Comes the 2-2 pitch from Velasquez. Lifted right side. Long run for Nick Williams. Will not get there. Bounces into the seats. Runs in the bottom of the second inning today. Had only 1 run yesterday, but 4 straight games had scored 5 or more runs. So the offense maybe starting to get a little bit more consistent. Certainly a lot of moving parts once you get to September, getting guys some different looks. Strikeout for Velasquez to end the third. Marlins will take a 2-run lead into the fourth. The top of the fourth inning. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth, Craig Minervini. Thanks for spending some of your Labor Day with us. Coming at you tomorrow night, South Florida Honda dealers present Marlins Live, the pregame show. Craig Minervini, Jeff Nelson, Tommy Hutton get you set for Jake Arrieta and Trevor Richards. Also an email Twitter Tuesday, middle game of this 3-game series. Carlos Santana, Odubel Herrera, and Wilson Ramos due up for the Phils here in the fourth against Jose Urena, who has 3 strikeouts for the first 10 batters faced.
And he gave you exactly what you were looking for last inning, a shutdown inning. Ball didn't even leave the infield.
Love it. There are those that say every inning should be a shutdown inning. To that I say, well, duh. But there is also that kind of emotional edge of, all right, we just put 3 runs on the board, make it quick, and let's score more. One hit, the solo home run for Asdrubal Cabrera back in the 2nd inning. Santana a strikeout back in the 1st. Rips one over the head of Brian Anderson, who was on the right side of the infield with the shift. A solid single to lead off the 4th for Santana.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy-saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat. One on, nobody out for Odubel Herrera. It's kind of amazing if you remember way back. One of the stories that was grabbing a lot of the headlines in the early part of the season was the fact that he had gotten on base in 45 straight games. It was the 4th longest on base streak in franchise history. So you'd think, well, he's this on base monster kind of guy. Not necessarily the case. On base percentage of just .320 for Odubel Herrera.
In fact, has been somewhat slow here in the 2nd half. Just a 700 OPS in 33 second half games. Most who have seen Herrera throughout his career would define him as a streaky player, and I think that on base streak that you were talking about probably best exemplifies that.
Lined out to right field, carrying, and Ortega able to stay with that one. Sharply hit for the 1st out.
That was a long line drive out. My goodness. Got a 2-iron almost to the warning track. It's catch by Ortega, and certainly a big out for Urena and the Marlins.
Wilson Ramos, a strikeout victim in the 2nd inning. That was the last of the 3 straight strikeouts for Urena. In fact, the only 3 strikeouts he has this afternoon in that pocket. The last 2 outs of the 1st, and Ramos to begin the 2nd.
Ramos comes in, as we mentioned. Good numbers this season on the whole. He's had good numbers with the Phillies, and he's got a 12-game hitting streak here at Marlins Park. Correct myself. He's got a 12-game hitting streak versus the Marlins. 9 straight here at Marlins Park. .375 batting average.
Line foul. Look out.
Seen a few line drives this inning. Herrera line out to right, 111 miles an hour off the bat. Goodness.
Here comes the 2-2 pitch to Ramos. A ground ball up the middle. Miggy to Castro to Dietrich. As Urena rolls the double play ball to get through the 4th inning. 6-4-3 sends us to the last of the 4th. On Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by the Cleveland Clinic. Stiff joints, aches and pains, trust Cleveland Clinic Florida, the #1 orthopedic care in Florida. By Simply Healthcare, live the Simply life. And by La Lechonera, the original mojo since 1970. Rain maybe subsiding for now outside, but sounds like and looks like on the radar that there will be a lot more rain to come as we wrap up this holiday weekend. Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth, Craig Minervini, glad that you're with us. A 3-1 Marlins lead heading to the last of the 4th. Lewis Brinson, Austin Dean, and Jose Urena against Vince Velasquez. First pitch is in there for a called strike to Brinson, who had the RBI single in inning number 2 and came around to score. Couldn't hold up there. 0-2. Well, the Phillies have seen a lot of Velasquez this year. In fact, a career mark in terms of innings pitched. Isn't that right?
Well, he did. 131 was his previous career high. Ground ball to the right side. Out number 1. Here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Yeah, I think it was surprising. I guess that's why when I stumbled upon it, I threw it down in the notes, and obviously it just happened, so worth mentioning. Vince Velasquez has now set a career high, personal high, in innings pitched in a season with 132. He's been around a little bit. Now, he's only 26 years old, and I know that early on he's dealt with some injuries, but I mean, that's a relatively low number based on, you know, the number of years he's been in the big leagues.
He broke into the major leagues in 2015 with the Houston Astros, 55 2/3 innings. 19 games sprinkled in, some starts, some games finished mixed in there too. But 2016, 131 innings with the Phillies, 24 starts. Last year, 72 innings and 15 starts. And this year, did miss some time with that right arm contusion on that comebacker when he famously got hit. Glove went flying, picked it up with his left hand, his glove hand, and it tricked everybody and said, no, he throws righty. I mean, it was a bullet over to first base to get the out, but yeah, staying healthy for Velasquez. has been something of an issue. But you can see when he's on, like we have seen at times this year, that he can certainly be a weapon. You put him with a guy like Urena, with a guy like Nola, and there's certainly a lot to dream on.
Right,
in Philadelphia.
he's a variable to what they bring, to the table. He's different, and we certainly love that. When you look at the Philadelphia Phillies, I think if you're a Phillies fan, you're saying, okay, well, what do we love about this team? We love the potential for the starting rotation. With Nola, you got Urena. This young man's coming along. They've had a couple of other young arms that have developed, and they all bring it. But he's got the big curveball to me, which I think is the bit of an X-factor pitch for him. Everybody knew he could always kind of grip it and rip it. That's kind of been his story. But when he's got the breaking ball, I think that is actually what leads to your hitless starts conversation.
Urena lays the bunt down. Velasquez stumbles but makes the play. A 1-2-3 inning for Velasquez. The Phillies and Marlins head to the 5th at Marlins Park. All right. So Austin Davis, knowing why we would be zooming in on him, apparently. For those that may have missed it over the weekend, Austin Davis made some headlines in Philadelphia. Saturday night, he's on the mound against the Chicago Cubs. 2 outs, and he's looking at the cheat sheet. We see this with outfielders all the time, and puts it in his back pocket. All right, how am I going to attack Addison Russell? Hold on a second. Umpire Joe West comes out. I'm going to take that for you there, pal. Joe West thought maybe it was considered a foreign substance in a roundabout way.
Yeah,
so
he
confiscated it. Which it is clearly not. Major League Baseball is.
You think Joe West is an old school umpire?
I think you might be right. I think you might be right. But yeah, so Major League Baseball came out in the last 24 hours or so and said no, that he should have been able to hold on to that. There's nothing wrong with it. But
we've seen a number of people doing it. I mean, even the idea that there might be a foreign substance on it. I mean, come on, really? I mean, if you're going to put it, you could do it a million other ways.
Yeah.
In fact, probably easier to do it the other million ways than to put it on your paper cheat sheet or whatever you want to call it.
Nick Williams fouls it back. Williams, Cabrera, and Kingery here in the 5th against Urena. But you're right. I mean, we see this an awful lot. What was it, opening day? We had our CEO, Derek Jeter, up here. And we're, just looking at different shots around the diamond, see an outfielder pull something out of his hat, and he says, what is that? The game's changed.
Well, when I saw this go down the other night, I thought it was pretty funny because I felt like it was like a child being scolded. And, what I felt like doing is you you wanted to make, over the PA system, everybody else, can you take your cheat sheet out of your pocket? And I feel like 17 other players would have gone, oh, look. In fact, Javi Baez actually did that later on in the ball game and pulled it out of his pocket and said, well, I've still got mine. I mean, you know what I mean? It was like you took his away, but what about everybody else in the ball game?
Yeah.
He should have called time and gone around and collected everybody's tests.
I know. It's an open book test. Major League Baseball has turned into an open book test.
Well,
that's it.
By taking his away, I just don't understand why Joe was so bothered by it. Funny thing is while he was doing that, the catcher was looking at his.
Yes. It is.
I'm just kidding.
There's so much information nowadays, and not that there wasn't before 15, 20 years ago, but it just seems like because there is so much information, it's almost like if you fail, it's your fault for not preparing, in a sense. And so Urena gets the strikeout to lead things off here in the 5th inning. Speaking of years gone by, Geico presents this day in Major League history. September 3rd, 2006. Marlins a 10-3 win over the Brewers. They were 11-31 through May 21st, improved to 73-72. First big league team to go over 500 after being 20 games under 500. It was on this day in 2006.
Well, Cabrera has basically done it all for the Philadelphia Phillies today. He is the run on the board. Solo home run from the upper deck. 4th home run at Marlins Park here in 2018. 7th career home run here. He's got 6 homers against the Marlins in 2018 alone.
How did it work when you were an outfielder? And this was, again, not long ago, right? I mean, you guys knew where to play this guy or that guy based on counts, but do you imagine playing with a note card in your back pocket?
Well, no, because I never did. I mean, that's just it. I mean, I didn't really, we didn't do things that way. The way that it was relayed in the olden days was we used to just talk to each other. 4 lines of communication before every pitch. Like the corner outfielders had the obligation to look to your center fielder for what's going on. Now he's getting information from the dugout, and if that information is being processed as ground ball to the right side, Dietrich up with it, good strong throw to Urena for out number 2. Now if Bone says, I need you to go 2 steps to your left, center fielder says, I got it. As soon as he has it, he says, you look over at your left fielder, you say, I'm going 2 to my left, which would be 2 to his left. And the same would be for the right fielder. However you choose to do it and however you're moving together as a unit. So there's constant communication, and the same goes for the infielders. And that's just kind of the way that it worked, was that before every pitch. And I mean, if you look around a field in between pitches, you do see that a lot more of the infielders doing it, but maybe the outfielders not just as much. But I'll also add this. We didn't do the extreme shifting that we see in today's ball game. So, with that being certainly recognized, moving players is a bigger deal today than it ever was, 5, 7, 10 years ago.
Well, that's why there has been such an emphasis on acquiring for many different teams. Marlins have certainly said it a lot too, but acquiring athletes, because you see guys moving around an awful lot. I mean, Marlins have a guy in Brian Anderson who, yes, he's playing third right now. We've seen a base hit go over his head today when he was playing at second base. He's made 90 some odd starts out in right field. Guys are just baseball players. They're out on a baseball field. You kind of have to have that IQ nowadays.
Well, the new norm is daily change, and that is the new norm. And it's a game, Major League Baseball is a game that is played every day, and it screams consistency.
Look who has moved into the on-deck circle. Justin Bour. Could be a situation with 2 outs if the inning continues that he'd hit for Vince Velasquez. The first, the 1-2 pitch to Kingery, which is fouled off at the plate. Take a minute. Fly ball out to Austin Dean, back in the second for Kingery. Marlins, all 4 of the runs scored in the second. A Cabrera solo home run in the top of the inning, and 3 runs for the Marlins in the bottom of the second. Urena with 4 strikeouts thus far this afternoon. Make it 5 as he freezes Kingery. Halfway through this one, the Marlins with a 3-1 lead, heading to the bottom of the 5th inning. Hello, how are you? Thanks for hanging out at the yard. Sisters? Maybe twins, they're not sure. Having some fun. Right here, right here. Vince Velasquez will face Rafael Ortega. And then Brian Anderson and JT Realmuto. This one popped behind home plate. 0-2.
Ortega, a couple of the best at-bats this afternoon. Did line out his first time up to start the game, and a huge base hit to left. Drove in 2 with 2 outs in the second inning.
Dirt. Ortega staying hot and productive for the Marlins. His last, well, now we'll call it 10 games, 21 of 65. 7 runs scored in that span, 6 walks, 7 ribbies.
I certainly have been impressed. We've talked about him line to line, does a lot of things right.
Out to left, and Asdrubal Cabrera, the tumbling grab for out number 1.
Yeah, that was an all route. Pretty nice catch right there. Not maybe the cleanest route by Herrera. Still a nice catch nonetheless.
1 away, and it's time for our Chevrolet Prospect Spotlight. We focus in on Jonathan Rodriguez, team leading 14th home run yesterday against Omaha. 14 homers, 45 RBIs, 14 two-base hits as well. Speaking of two-base hits, Brian Anderson with 30 of them, which leads National League rookies. In fact, 30 is 5th in club history. VA 0 for 2 today, strikeout and a flyout this afternoon. Going on right now, afternoon action on Labor Day. Fun matchup in Atlanta, Red Sox and Braves going at it. Anderson strikes out. 5th strikeout today for Velasquez, 2 out in the 5th. The Red Sox and Braves are currently scoreless in the 4th inning. Elsewhere in the National League East, Cardinals up on the Nats 2-1. We'll see the Pittsburgh Pirates over the weekend. They lead the Reds right now 1-0 in the 4th inning. And the Chicago Cubs 1-0 on the Brewers in Milwaukee. So that's a fun series too.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the Philadelphia Phillies have got to be looking at this road trip, the one that just started today here in Miami and goes through New York against the Mets, is trying to make up some ground. One thing that really stands out is they've struggled on the road in the National League this year. They have got, looking at their schedule, they have a tough last 2 weeks of the season. They have their last road trip of the season. They've got 4 in Atlanta and then 4 in Colorado before coming back home again to play the Braves 3 more times. Here's your complications. Coming into today's ball game, now of course they're 19-22 here in the second half, but they're 29-38 on the road. That's the 5th worst record in the National League. You can see how you can talk yourself into this being a big road trip. They have got to, in their minds, take care of business and win some games that they believe they're supposed to win on this road trip. This is not the trip where you say to yourself, okay, 3-3 is good enough just because it's a road trip. You got to be saying to yourself 4-2, 5-1 at a minimum against those teams that we believe we're better than.
Well, the 4-game deficit in the National League East is what, a game a week, right, to pick up. But as you mentioned, 7 of the last 10 this year are against the Braves. So it makes that sort of hill feel a little bit more climbable, if you will. Strikeout for Velasquez. 2 in the inning, 6 in the game, 5 in the books here at Marlins Park. Miami up 3-1. for the Marlins as Jose Urena has had himself a nice afternoon, a run on 2 hits.
Every weekday morning, Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp go head-to-head on the day's hottest sports topics. Undisputed with Skip and Shannon, weekdays from 9:30 a.m. until noon Eastern, only on FS1.
So Urena, 2 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts through 5 innings of work. We have seen this quite a bit. I mean, we may joke a little bit about, well, it's easy if you just get 8 innings from your starter. But we saw that Friday with Straley. We saw that on Saturday as well. And now a good 5 to start. Still a long way to get through 8, I understand.
What about you? But I'm not kidding. It's kind of the going rate right now for a win here at Marlins Park. Listen, sometimes it's better to be real with what you're dealing with. The bullpen has been in shambles just a bit here of late, and the longer your starter goes, the more dominant he is, the better chance you've got of winning a baseball. That's winning a baseball game. We've learned that, right?
Yes.
Well, at the same time, if you're getting more innings from your starters who are obviously throwing the ball pretty well and they're clearly being efficient, you're now protecting the bullpen. You're not exposing that bullpen. And sometimes rest and a few less innings helps guys get back in line. We've seen that a number of times this year. We go back to the good June that the Marlins bullpen had, a 2.98 ERA. They weren't being overexposed. They weren't being used as much as some of the other months. But the point is that everybody kind of slotted into a role and things worked out well. Well, what we've seen of late, when it's good, hopefully that will be the case moving forward in September, is that you're getting good quality starts and you're not stressing the bullpen with too much of a workload.
Well, prior to yesterday, which was Jeff Bringham's major league debut, so I suppose evaluate with a grain of salt. Another strikeout for Urena gets Pedro Florimon, the pinch hitter. 6th strikeout. One more look.
Yeah, we'll call this the Nelly four-seam fastball. Nelly talks about this a lot, and I think it's a great point. You know, Urena at times will kind of nibble at that corner, but it's a great idea. You know, when he attacks the middle of the plate and he's got that great run, you see how it explodes to the outside corner. It gets right in that lane. Hitters, they lock up on it.
So that's 6 Ks for Urena. And here is Cesar Hernandez. Roman Quinn on deck. Now, what I was going to say again, yesterday was Jeff Bringham's major league debut, so it is what it is. But in the 7 games prior to yesterday, the starters for the Marlins, a 1.99 ERA. And we'll call it the veterans, picking up right where the other veterans left off. As Hernandez flies out to Dean in left for out number 2. You're just waiting for me to say, well, if you take yesterday's out.
No, I wasn't. Not so you mentioned it. Now that you mentioned it, I am.
Love when I do that. Just try to add some context. That's all it is. Here's Quinn with 2 outs. Quinn 0 for 2 today. A 3-1 lead, but with the bench that the Phillies have today, you can make that up in rather short order. Broken bat. Rojas off balance, and an infield single for Quinn.
Well, let that be an example of what the Philadelphia Phillies love so much about Quinn. I mean, he just basically outran the baseball here. Broken bat. You're thinking, okay, you see Miggy Rowe. I mean, he's flying. But even if that throws on line, I bet you Quinn beats that out to first base. I was watching him move down the first base line, and it is elite speed. He looks fast in slow motion.
Yes, he does.
Look, he just ran out of the picture.
Gone. And he's not even in the picture now. See? Either way. That's a blur. Now here's Carlos Santana. Takes ball 1. So again, the Phillies bench today, 8 players on the bench, have combined for 98 home runs this season. We got Justin Bour and Rhys Hoskins, Maikel Franco, Jose Bautista, just to name a few.
Yeah, this Philadelphia Phillies roster is pretty well stacked with guys who can hit the long ball. We've told you, it's kind of how they do it. At the same time, can they win this division knowing that their defense has made the most errors, that their pitching it's been okay, certainly held their own, but the offense has been pretty down.
Santana, right field, long run. Ortega makes the catch.
Yeah, he did.
How about Rafael Ortega into the right center field gap to take away extra bases from Carlos Santana. Another highlight reel play for Ortega. Leaping to make the catch to end the 6th inning here in Miami.
The 6th inning, and I'll tell you what, this might be Bonefish fresh catch of the week or the month. Well, it's definitely the fresh catch of the day. Getting it done. Are you kidding me? Great route, great read, great finish. Look at the high extension as he hits the warning track in a big moment in this ball game. My goodness, what a catch by Ortega.
It seems like we say something good about him every day and sometimes twice. Just the way that he's able to impact the game one way or another. And I think at the beginning of the season, a lot of Marlins fans probably didn't even know much about him. And here we are he came up in mid-August.
I didn't know anything about
and
him.
into September. Fair enough.
Well, I'm just making your point, man.
Right, and exactly. But that's the thing, making the most of an opportunity, A, but B, also impacting games daily.
Yeah, sure is. He has been a breath of fresh air. I mean, listen, the Marlins had tried a number of guys out in the leadoff spot. Look at this catch. I mean, just incredible extension. That ball is practically over his head. I mean, not just over his head, but I should say by his head is where I'm going with that.
The 2-1 pitch to Starlin Castro on a hop to Cesar Hernandez. Right past the outstretched arm of the new pitcher, Edubre Ramos. One away here in the 6th.
You see the dugout there? We were showing you Ortega after that great catch. You see how there was like 5 guys around him?
Yeah.
He's on the cool block now.
He is absolutely.
You make a catch like that, everybody wants to hang out with you. See? That's how it works.
And Gabe Kapler out to make a pitching change. Might say that a few more times before the end of the day. Florida Lottery called the bullpen. spin on a classic, loaded with prizes from $10,000 to $2 million. So unleash the excitement anytime. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. So it is Adam Morgan to take over, the lefty. And he'll face the lefty, Derek Dietrich, in his 57th game this season.
Yeah, 3.89 ERA. He's been throwing the ball really, really well. 2.37 ERA over his last 21 appearances. He's thrown the ball particularly well against the Marlins this season. A 1.93 ERA here in 2018. Fastball, curve, slider, change, converted starter. That works out of the bullpen.
Face Dietrich, who has reached base twice today. A triple and a run scored in that 3-run second inning, and walked in the third. The only walk issued by the starter Vince Velasquez today. Went the first 5 innings. 5 hits, 3 runs, and 6 strikeouts for Velasquez. But now into the Phillies bullpen we go, as Dietrich flies one out to Herrera for the second out.
It's easy to beat the heat when you become an energy saving expert. Go to fpl.com/beattheheat.
Morgan will now face Miguel Rojas. A ground out and a strikeout for Miggy today. Lined out to center field. Quinn makes the catch. That speed gets to his top speed real quick. Able to close in on that one, make the play as we move to the 7th.
Your voice counts. Those are committed to elevating your experience at the ballpark. Share your thoughts and your feedback online or at the ballpark and enter to win prizes throughout the rest of the season. Visit Marlins.com/DMLO to get started.
Jose Urena dealing through 6 innings today. Back out for the 7th to face Odubel Herrera, Wilson Ramos, and Nick Williams. Trying to protect a 2-run lead. 3-1 as we go to the final 3 here at Marlins Park. That one misses for ball 1. Urena has completed 6 innings 12 times, went out 13 times this season. Get through 7, which he has done 5 times.
One thing that we've seen him do as he's fallen behind 3-0 to Herrera is continue to attack the strike zone. It's what he's known for. his way back.
An aggressive take from Herrera.
Trying to beat him. That ball 4.
Be a bad strike zone if that was ball 4. That's not ball 4. In fact, it is a line drive out to Brinson in center. We check in with Craig.
Thanks, Paul. We're going to check in with our StatCast AI to see some of the great catches we've seen in this game. One in particular you just talked about with Rafael Ortega. But one of the keys for the Marlins that you've seen this year more than ever is they're really pushing to right center. You see there he covered 64 feet. But in past years, they didn't have many right fielders going on right center. Earlier in the game, same story. Look how far to right center. This is the right fielder making a play, and it's closer to center field. Now, back in the earlier years here at Marlins Park, anything hitting that area was pretty much a triple zone. But what you've seen in the recent years, especially this year, is the right fielders are really going over to right center, more probability of the ball, and the ball down the line can turn into a triple, like you saw from Dietrich earlier in the game. It's been a drastic shift of the way defenses play in the outfield here. And you saw it here today, how big it's been for the Marlins.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point, Craig. We definitely have seen that. Obviously, on the Dietrich triple, I actually was pondering exactly what you were talking about. You know, because we see these outfielders, and they'll move with the center fielder, and you don't see those big, the big gaps out there anymore. So they're almost giving up the lines and guarding the gaps just a little bit more. And keep that in mind, especially with a couple of hard throwers who started this game and run a few of those down. Dietrich's triple into the corner almost felt like it was going to be a stand-up triple. I was watching Williams go after it. He was kind of swung way around, and part of that because of the Velasquez fastball.
Two balls and 2 strikes to Wilson Ramos. Struck out in the second. An inning-ending double play in the 4th. Swing, says first base umpire Lance Barrett. Count runs full.
He's had a nice combination against Ramos. We told you he was pretty hot coming into this ball game, particularly against the Marlins, certainly this season. Fastball, 2-seamers in, sliders away.
Another strikeout. That makes 7 for Urena. 2 outs in the 7th.
Well, that exact sequence we just mentioned. 2-seam fastball, moved his feet back outside with the slider. Not a great slider, but just enough to get it past Ramos today, who's had a rough day. He's accounted for 4 outs and a couple of strikeouts.
7 strikeouts matches a season high. He's done it twice this year. Once against the Red Sox on April 3rd, and once against the Nationals on May 25th.
Urena, 7 strikeouts, 5 on the slider, 2 on the fastball. Shows you how good he really has been today. Looking at his numbers on the season, only 23 strikeouts on the slider. As I said, 5 today. It was actually the 3rd pitch of his 3 pitches had the fewest strikeouts on. More with a 4-seam fastball.
Outside to Nick Williams, who he has struck out today. Did so back in the 5th. Balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Grounded foul, wide of the first base bag.
Well, I think for Phillies fans, no matter what happens the rest of the way, and of course they're expecting to make the playoffs, but if they don't, they'll probably see the season as a huge success. Remember, it was just this time last year, they too were 30 games under 500. 51 and 84 about this point last year, 2017. Turned it around rather quickly.
Urena due up third in the bottom of the inning, approaching 100 pitches. So this, with Adam Conley up, could be the last batter / last inning for Urena. Last time out against Boston, first batter reached in the first 3 innings. Today, just once. As the leadoff man reached, he has been in control for most, if not all, the afternoon. The only blemish was that home run by Asdrubal Cabrera in the second. Gone from 2 strikeouts, his lowest total since May 19th, to on the precipice of a new season high. He's tied his season high as Williams lines one over the leap of Rojas into center field. Two-out single will bring Cabrera to the plate.
After the 9-pitch at bat to Williams, this really has become a big moment in this ball game. We're a solo home run already, first time up against Urena.
Justin Bour has moved into the on-deck circle. Scott Kingery would be due up next. Figure if it gets to Bour, it would be Conley. But it may not, as Cabrera flies out to left center field for Brinson, and 7 strong innings for Jose Urena. 3-1 Marlins.
Inning. T-Mobile, built for baseball. I'll tell you what, we saw some outstanding fastballs from Urena today. Look at all the arm side run. See the ball out of his hand, and you see what a lot of the lefties and righties are dealing with. Not only the velocity, but the deception on the pitch as it's moving in the strike zone. You see it's either on that edge or working towards it. So outstanding fastball today, and I certainly understand why Urena would be leaning on it. Coming into today's game, last 2 starts, that's including his complete game against the Nationals, a 179 batting average against that fastball. And the 1 run he gave up today, a hanging slider that got turned around.
Well, as you mentioned, a complete game a couple of starts ago. First of his career, that was August 19th against the Washington Nationals. 6 innings and 4 runs against the Red Sox, but 7 strong innings today as Jose Urena leaves the game with a 3-1 lead. And another new pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies as Victor Arano takes over. 51st game for him. Due up Brinson, Dean, and Urena's spot. But looked as though Urena was getting some hugs and some high fives, so the Marlins figure to be going to the bench when that spot comes up 3rd in the inning. But first it is Brinson, who had the RBI single in the 2nd inning, a ground out in the 4th. At the time that tied things up, Marlins added 2 more later in the frame. That has been it in terms of the scoring. Phillies with the homer in the top of the 2nd, Marlins with 3 in the bottom. Now Brinson to lead off the 7th inning. Takes that one low, 1-0.
Now the Marlins have seen Urena this season, 2.45 ERA, just under 4 innings of work. This will be his 5th game against the Marlins. He loves his slider, and you've seen 2 of them already. Does have a good fastball.
Excuse me, swing down the right field side. And a nice catch down the line, too. One 4-0 for the Phillies, 3-5-0 for the Marlins. Ramos. That one be off the right arm on the ball in the dirt that bounced up and got him. He'll need a minute. Trainer out to check on Ramos. Sure, hand or arm. Either way, in a fair amount of pain right now.
Squeezing that right hand. Let's take another look. Another slider outside. Tries to keep it in front. Interesting, used a lot more of that caught his hand than anything. Now watch the right hand. Not even sure his glove even factored in just a bit.
And Brinson, a base hit into left field. Multi-hit afternoon for Brinson.
Nice in-at-bat adjustment after seeing 4 sliders. How about it? 5th one lined into left. That one didn't do too much. Stayed up in the zone. That's what you do. You hit the mistakes. Fight off the tough ones with 2 strikes, and you wait for something you can handle. 2nd hit of the ball game for Brinson.
Just the 12th multi-hit game this year for Sweet Lou, who is over at first base, and now Austin Dean doubled and scored a run in the 2nd. Cut on and miss. 95 miles an hour from Arano. Ball and a strike. 1-1 pitch to Dean, misses low. Magneuris Sierra has emerged into the on-deck circle with Urena due up next. Dean out to center field. Quinn started back, now will come in to make the play for the first out.
Enhance your next game day experience with the MLB Ballpark app. Access and manage your tickets, enjoy check-in offers, exclusive content, and much more. Download the MLB Ballpark app today.
So it will officially be Sierra, meaning that the afternoon is done for Urena. 7 innings, 4 hits, a run, no walks, and 7 strikeouts. Nice day for Jose. As Rick Kranitz is out to talk with Victor Arano.
Sierra, this is his first pinch hit appearance of 2018. For his first career pinch hit, in fact, 0 for 4 in his career.
Phillies do have, I know you'd be shocked to hear this, but action in their bullpen. Looks like Avilan is up for them. Now I say that for those that may not be following the Phillies all that closely. They have always seen, at least the games that we've seen, try to utilize just about every arm they've got, and that was before rosters expanded to on September 1st.
Well, they like matchups.
They do.
You get the lefties on the lefties and the righties on the righties.
Runner goes. Sierra out to center field. Brinson slid. He's got to find the ball and get back, but it might be a bit too late as Brinson doubled up. That's how the 7th inning ends. Marlins have a 3-1 lead.
My hand nickel sand like the body. 95 South early in the dawn. Hit a button, drop the top on the stadium. To the sky from the ground, I'm away. GPS when you're lost, I'm away. From the bottom to the top, blew $1 million. Turn around, headed home to put my city on. Marlins, stand up. We just getting started. They don't wanna see it started. We just getting started. We just getting started. Looking at my rear view and the body in my way. We the best. We just getting started. Another one. We just getting started. Let's win.
Great outing for Jose Urena. He gives way to the bullpen. Some defensive changes for the Marlins as Rafael Ortega, who's already made a couple of nice plays in right field, moves over to the left. Austin Dean is out of the ball game. Sierra stays in. He is in right field.
Card away.
Adam Conley.
Won't anybody get in trouble?
Is on the mound. Well, Joe West is maybe somewhere else. This is how the inning ended a moment ago.
All right. Well, listen, they were able to deke Lewis Brinson just a little bit. See, great break. He got a pretty good jump, but right there, about halfway to first base, you want to peek back in as a base runner. So that, listen, you hear it audibly. You know the ball hit the bat. But again, if you run with your head down straight into second base, even on a straight steal, the guys at second base who are waiting for you, the shortstop and the second baseman, they're going to deke you. They're going to give you kind of, hey, listen, the ball's right in front of me kind of a thing. That's why when Brinson popped up, he didn't know where the ball was.
So Conley in his 44th game. He'll face Rhys Hoskins. This is what we're talking about with that beefed up bench today for the Phillies. Hoskins takes inside. Hoskins, the team leader in doubles, in homers, in RBIs.
Well, Hoskins 1 for 3 pinch hitting this season, does have an RBI, and you say, well, wait a minute, why in the world would Conley be coming in to face Rhys Hoskins, who is hitting all sorts of home runs this year, including here in the second half? He had 14 before the All-Star break. He's had 13 homers since the All-Star break. Hoskins struggles with lefties, hitting only .219 this season with 3 home runs, so 24 of the 27 versus righties, not the lefties. Actually a favorable matchup for the Marlins.
Conley ahead, a ball and 2 strikes. Hoskins, a drive out to left field. Ortega sizing it up, will make the catch in front of the wall. Just enough real estate in left field for the first out of the inning.
Well, I have one response to this. After all the information I gave everybody and playing the splits, Marlins Park, that's my answer.
There you go.
Well, we've seen this a number of times this season. Visiting players, they can be frustrated.
Jose Bautista swings and misses. One more look at Hoskins.
Thinks he's got it. He thinks he's got it. And we call that the fizzle.
To Anderson at third. And Bautista is retired.
Yeah, that's the fizzle. That's where, you crushed it and all of a sudden you look up and they're throwing the ball back in.
Kyle Bearclaw up in the Marlins bullpen. As Cesar Hernandez takes outside. Hernandez 0 for 2 in the number 9 spot for the Phillies today. Marlins have the top of the order due up in the bottom of this inning to try to tack on to a 3-1 lead as Conley comes in and works a 1-2-3-8. to the last of the 8th inning. WB Mason Marlins Live postgame show coming up. Craig Minervini, Jeff Nelson. We'll hear from Don Mattingly, who will have plenty of nice things to say about Jose Urena. 7 strong innings for Urena. Some defensive changes for the Philadelphia Phillies as Rhys Hoskins stays in the ball game. He's over at first base. As Asdrubal Cabrera moves from third to short. And Carlos Santana moves across the diamond over to third as Luis Avilan takes over. So Avilan will face Isaac Galloway. As it was Ortega's spot due up, but trying to get the matchup, the righty Ortega, or the righty Galloway rather.
Galloway 0 for 4 pinch hitting in his career.
Saw Kyle Bearclaw up in the top of the inning. Now Drew Steckenrider has gotten up in the bullpen for the Marlins. The 2-1 on the way, and that one is fouled back to the screen. Elsewhere today, of course, the Phillies chasing the Atlanta Braves in the division. The Red Sox with a 3-1 lead in Atlanta today. Also 3-1 in Washington as the Cardinals lead the Nationals. Max Scherzer, another double-digit strikeout performance, 10 strikeouts. He's still working, 6 2/3 under his belt. 3 earned runs though. And a called strike 3. Galloway is down looking for the first out in the 8th. Coors Light, or the Coors Banquet timeless moment. Yadiel Rivera, first walk-off single. We got to the Philadelphia Phillies, who are in the midst of yet another pitching change. It was May 1st earlier this year. Rivera's been a hero a couple of times in 2018. The Florida Lottery called the bullpen here at Marlins Park. 3-1 lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. Luis Avilan got the first out, and now Tommy Hunter out of the Phillies bullpen. He'll face Brian Anderson. 55th game for Hunter.
3.78 ERA on the season. He's been throwing the ball pretty well of late. 1.72 ERA over his last 13 appearances. Marlins have gotten to him for a couple of earned runs in the 5 games he's pitched this season.
Not a lot of history, of course, with the Marlins roster against Tommy Hunter, but Brian Anderson is 3 for 5 against Hunter, with a home run, a couple of RBIs. Called strike 1 and 2. Anderson has struck out twice today, also flew out back in the 2nd inning. And he went around. Two outs in the 8th for JT Realmuto.
JT had a base hit his first time up into scoring position on a wild pitch, but did not come around to score in that first inning. 1 for 3 today.
In the air, hit well, right field. Back is Williams. He makes the catch up against the wall for the final out. JT gave it a ride, but ballpark holds it as this game moves to the 9th. Marlins up 3-1. Low fares, nothing to hide. Buy Kubota. For more information or to find a Kubota dealer near you, go to gokubota.com and buy your South Florida Honda dealers. Justin Bour back in Marlins Park, greeting his former teammates and certainly still friends as well. But JB back in Miami as a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. Option off the bench at some point today, maybe, for the Phils. But Drew Steckenrider will face Roman Quinn, Carlos Santana, and Odubel Herrera as Roman Quinn takes a ball outside. 54th game for Steckenrider this year. 2 balls in, no strikes. Quinn a single in the 6th inning. 1 for 3 this afternoon. Two and one. Some defensive changes for the Marlins. Isaac Galloway stays in the game. He's in left. Miguel Rojas now over at first, and JT Riddle in at short. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Steck's got some great numbers against the Philadelphia Phillies. This is his 10th game in his career. 193 ERA. Does have a save.
Right the ship of this Marlins bullpen that has allowed 25 runs in the last 13 innings. This one looped out to right, but Sierra able to make the play for the first out.
Well, after Quinn's last at bat, that's absolutely what you wanted to see from Steckenrider. Anything that wasn't a strikeout, a ball in the air that you believe is going to get caught. My goodness, Quinn outran a slow roller to short.
3 men on the right side of the infield against Carlos Santana. Struck out in the 1st, had a single in the 4th, and then made a bid for extra bases in the 6th when Rafael Ortega ranged deep into the right center field gap to make a leaping catch. And that ended the 6th inning. Santana over at third base in the bottom of the 8th inning, just his 3rd inning over at third in 2018. The 1-2 pitch ripped foul. Waved at and missed, and there are 2 down in the 9th.
Nicely done. Slider in, and then the 2-seam fastball away with arm side run. Good sequencing against the powerful Santana. And a huge 2nd out.
Can't tell, but Juan Nieves likes what he sees. Stoic. Stoic.
You'll see a smile once you get this 3rd out.
That's right. Here is Odubel Herrera. Takes the ball inside. Herrera today is 0 for 3. A strikeout, 2 fly balls. There's a strike. Herrera 0 for 4, a couple of strikeouts against Steckenrider in his career. And the Marlins are a strike away from knocking off the Phillies. A team that has lost 16 of 25, hasn't won a series since they swept the Marlins in 4 games about a month ago. Here it comes. Swung on and missed. Strike 3. Steckenrider with a couple of strikeouts in the 9th inning, and it's a Marlins win. 3-1. Another great start from a starter for the Marlins, as 7 strong innings from Jose Urena. 1 run, no walks, 7 strikeouts. The only blemish, a home run by Asdrubal Cabrera in the 2nd inning. Other than that, he was lights out. Marlins answered back with 3 in the bottom of that inning and made it stand up.
Well, one big inning. We told you about the run support that Urena didn't get from the Marlins this season at Marlins Park. He made the 3 runs he got stand up today. Great defense by the Marlins, and oh, by the way, the bullpen. A couple of important innings and able to get this one done.
Excellent work out of Urena. Adam Conley with a clean inning. And then Drew Steckenrider with a 1-2-3 9th inning. Yes, there was the home run, but technically speaking, no Phillies base runner reached 2nd base today.
Tells you, boy, oh boy, you make 3 runs stand up. That's how you do it.
So a nice way to wrap up the holiday weekend, as it were. A nice way to start this series. Getting the opener against the Phils. We go downstairs. Craig with Lewis Brinson.
All right, thank you very much. A nice win for your team, Lewis Brinson, today, especially knowing the damage you do to the Phillies' chances to get to the postseason.
Right. No, it was a great team win. Contributed all game, and really came out swinging in the first couple innings. Yeah. Played some nice defense. Jose pitched his butt off, man. He's been doing that past couple of outings, and it's nice to get this win.
How nice for you coming back here. You've had a trying season. You went down the minor. You were hurt for a while. Come back with 5 hits in 3 games.
Yeah, no, it feels good. It feels good. Had time to think about some stuff. Had some time to work on some stuff, and it feels good to be contributing.
What's been the key for you? This little. I know it's a small sample, but.
Hold on.
Uh-oh. Here we go with the monkey. Oh. We haven't seen the monkey in a while. Here we go. The monkey is back at Lewis Brinson's expense here. It is whipped cream today, right? It's whipped cream today?
Yeah.
Right. Tasty?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where were we?
Where were we? I don't know.
We were talking about what has been the key for you. 5 hits and just feeling good at the plate, hitting the ball hard, no matter the result.
Just relaxing. Like I said, had some time to go down there and work on some things, get my mind right, and told myself I wanted to finish strong. Coming back September, wanted to contribute to us winning, having a good September, and finish the season strong. Good
line drive base hit there. That was big. Get you on the board that first run. Then Ortega follows with a huge 2-run hit to give you 3 early runs. What'd you do against Velasquez that worked today?
Just sit on his fastball. He's got a good fastball. Didn't want to get beat by that. He's got good secondary stuff too, but really just sitting on the fastball and get something up that I can drive.
Thought you were going to steal a base later in the game.
I know.
That's a tricky play. You're trying to steal a base, right? You're trying to get good speed going. How do you balance that, that kind of play? You had no idea, obviously, where the ball went.
Right. I just got to look back. Once I take off, just got to look back, see where the ball is at. But you can't control that. First thing I got to do is I got to go back and touch the bag. I forgot to touch the bag.
Oh, so. You missed that one?
Yeah. I got to go back and touch the bag anyway. So, it didn't work out, but we got the win.
Good game for you. Nice going, Lewis. Good to see you back.
All right. Thank you.
Lewis Brinson enjoying a whipped cream and a nice win. Let's go back to Paul.
All right, Lewis, Craig, thanks so much. Again, a nice way to begin this series against a Phillies team that is very much in the mix when it comes to the division. Wild card, a 3-1 Marlins victory. Marlins Live postgame is coming up next.